Now, 2 years into a brutal civil war, Sudan stands at the epicenter of the world's most devastating displacement crisis, with nearly 13 million people uprooted, including over 4 million seeking refugees beyond its borders. The country is spiraling deeper into chaos. The conflict marked by widespread violence, systematic abuse, and deteriorating humanitarian access continues to ravage the lives of citizens while global funding and attention dwindle. Our reporter Mamadi Paro reports.
As Sudan marks the grim 2-year anniversary of its ongoing war, the humanitarian situation is worsening at a catastrophic phase. The conflict ignited in April 2023 between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Force has torn the nation apart and triggered the largest displacement crisis in Africa. With nearly 13 million people forced from their homes, Sudan has overtaken countries like Syria and Venezuela in terms of population displacement. Over 1 million fled the country in the past 12 months alone, as violence intensified across major cities including Khartoum, El Geneina, and Al-Fasher. Neighboring countries have borne the brunt of the refugee influx. Egypt, Chad, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Libya, Central African Republic, and Uganda has received waves of exhausted, traumatized people, many of whom arrive with no possessions, no documentation, and, in countless cases, no families. More than half of the displaced are children, thousands of them unaccompanied and exposed to unimaginable dangers along the way. Newly arrived refugees speak of unspeakable horrors, mass killings, ethnically targeted attacks, forced displacements, and systematic sexual violence used as a weapon of war. Women and girls report being abducted, raped, or assaulted in displacement camps, urban battlegrounds, and even while seeking water or food. Hospitals have been bombed, medical staff have been assaulted or killed, markets and aid convoys looted, schools turned into battlegrounds. Despite the scale of suffering, international funding has dwindled alarmingly. Humanitarian response in Sudan is now one of the least funded globally. UN agencies and NGOs warn of an impending catastrophe as the rainy season nears, which will render roads impassable and further isolate vulnerable communities. Medical teams are already overstretched. Cholera, malaria, and malnutrition are rising, particularly in hard-to-reach areas such as Darfur, Blue Nile, and the Nuba Mountains. Aid organizations are calling for urgent scale-up, not just in funding, but in diplomatic pressure to allow safe humanitarian corridors. The conflict threatens to destabilize the entire region. Border towns are overwhelmed. Ethnic tensions are spilling over. South Sudan, already fragile, is struggling to cope with returning refugees. Chad, with limited infrastructure, is on the verge of a humanitarian breakdown. Meanwhile, global attention remains focused elsewhere. Advocacy groups warn that Sudan risks becoming a forgotten war despite the magnitude of the suffering. MSF and other humanitarian agencies are urging the warring factions to immediately commit to protecting civilians and aid workers. They are also calling on international donors to urgently mobilize resources to avert a full-scale famine and protect the lives of millions. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mamadi Bara.